Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Johnnie Torch Live. First off, gotta say, there won't leave. It's lingering. Hopefully, I don't have the chronic coughing problems I had last week. Sorry, but I put the edited version up so that it still made some sense. And again, I apologize for the lozenge I have in my mouth, or if my voice still sounds a little affected. But, wanted to put on a show here, see if we can talk about some of the stuff that's been going on this week. I haven't had a Torch News roundup. Not feeling well. Unfortunately, I am having problems getting the YouTube editor to work. Now, let me know if you're having the same problems, if you're a content creator, because I haven't been able to get the YouTube editor to work. At least 3 days. And I usually start working on my up around Wednesday. No dice. I couldn't get anything going to work on it there. I have other avenues I can explore to try to get it up. Probably going to take me some time because between not feeling good and being kind of lazy, I really don't want to try to figure something else out unless this becomes that's not going to go away. I don't understand why. Message is very wrong. Anyhow, so with that stuff out of the way, take a look at first order of business. Order of business, of course, week in Gotham. Live, I will try. I have it up here in a. All right, so Lee buried Jim Gordon alive. Yes, words I never thought I'd say. Buried Jim Gordon alive. Lee is in two Babs at this point. Still don't know where they're going with this. I don't know what they're trying to do. Morticia there. Get the photo up for a change without any. As you know, to recap, Lee has taken the Alice virus. He gave Jim the, sadistic choice to either die or to take the Alice virus himself. And to make a long story short, to save his life, he ends up taking the Alice virus. I, for a minute there, didn't think he was going to, but it's completely understandable that he would. So I don't know where the story's going. They're going all out, I guess. Now the bomb with the Alice virus went off and is going to poison half of Gotham. Guy behind Bruce, that the guru, for lack of a better term, I don't really know what his name was in this title for himself, but he was working for Ra's al Ghul. Surprise. Affiliated with the court, but he's still working for Ra's al Ghul, and Ra's al Ghul obviously is interested in Bruce now at a way young age. This brainwashed Bruce subplot is kind of grating on me. I mean, grow up and turn into the iron-willed Dark Knight, right? Mildly conflicted about killing a couple thousand people. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me, I don't think. And of course, we had the return of Fish Mooney. He is back. Hooray! But seriously, when Riddler feud got in the arm, welcomed her interference. It's kind of amusing at best, but I don't really see where they're going to go with this Penguin Riddler feud anyway. born out of being a jilted lover. Doesn't work, and the sooner they better. But then again, since there's an absence of now, we don't have um who was one of my favorites from the first season. They killed him off way back in the first season. Falcone shows up from time to time. He's not really a heavy hitter anymore. We got Fish coming back, probably not for long. Season's almost over, but I don't think she's going to be a regular anymore. So, it's just going to be now between and Riddler, remaining vestiges of the in Gotham. I don't know. It seemed a bit to me anyway here. I hate to say it, but I really felt Robin's been phoning it in the past few weeks. Just doesn't seem like he seemed to be like hyper, just trying to and it just, I don't know. I think his performance has been lacking. He was pretty good here though. He was pretty good return to form for him here. And Corey also as the Riddler seems to be overusing this strange bemused expression lately. And I just get the sense that they're either or maybe they're getting a bit lost as to what their character motivations are at this point. But into the home stretch here, I don't know. I was hoping for something a little bit stronger. Penguin's Freak Army. Uh, Maybe Fish made them a better deal. Where have they gone? I don't know. Speaking of where have they gone, Stone, where did he run off to anyway? Last I remember, he had one foot in the grave. They act like it was a matter of time. He's gone. He's missing in action. Kind of begs the question, was the clone working for Roz, for the court, or both? Because they, obviously have Ducard, but whoever Roz intermediary is, is working both for the court and for Roz. I don't know. That is worth a laugh, not to be confused with Stephen Strange. So yeah, I guess this one wraps up next week. This bad boy is gonna finally be put down for another season. Oh boy, Gotham, boy oh boy. With now that the other shows are finished. Finito. Complete. Comments or thoughts about this week's Gotham in the chat room, and I'll take a look. Comments below if you're watching this after the fact, after the live broadcast. And why aren't you here for the live broadcast? Why aren't you? But I'm grateful either way if you're watching this live or it's the Johnnie Torch Program coming to you live from Stately Torch Manor. I'd like to remind you here while we're still on the subject of Batman, I just did a video, the last video I could do before the got all fritzed out on me. The meets the Green Hornet from Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman. You can check that out on my channel. And good, just to give you a review. I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Batman 66, so it was welcome that Smith pretty much stuck to, the time-honored tradition, so to speak, of Adam West, and didn't try to set his own to his own style. That is Gotham for us. All right, now let's take a look at what else do we have to talk about. Seeing how there is no more from CW or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we are going to take a look at some of the shows that I've been watching, but I haven't really followed them week to week. For example, we're going to talk about here. I just finished Age and Scattershot. Saw it a couple of weeks before Easter, and then I stopped around Easter, and then I picked it up again a couple of more weeks, and I stopped for some reason. I forgot what happened, but and then I picked up the last three and a half episodes, I think, after that, about a week after that. So series, I like to binge the whole thing. I like to watch it all, watch it close together, see how it flows. I can't really review and give it the full, like I did with Iron Fist binge. So I'm probably not going to do a review of this review, but I'm going to still, since this is the live show, going to give kind of randomly about the season from what I remember of it. Um, pardon my lozenge once again as I let's see if I can pull up my see because I don't take very extensive notes. Review some minor notes here. All right, so looking at Luke Cage, and I can't find my notes, so we're just going to go off the top of my head. That's why this might be a little bit shorter. So I can understand what a lot of people were criticizing the show about, that at the halfway point, the last quarter of the season kind of falls apart. Kind of. I still enjoyed it a lot. I really enjoyed, just again for the Cliff Notes version, I really enjoyed this season or this series a lot. Probably, see, I had such high expectations for Daredevil. I keep putting Daredevil down, but I had such high Daredevil, and it just expectations for me. So that's why I kind of say Iron Fist more. I kind of enjoy Luke Cage more. So if I'm going by pure enjoyment, I probably would say Luke Cage, then Daredevil season 2, Daredevil season 1. Jessica Jones, I really didn't sit through it properly, sort of like what I'm saying here with Luke Cage, but it was even worse in the sense that I watched middle, then I stopped for a few months, and then I watched the end, then I went back to the beginning. It was kind of messed up. So what they were trying to do with Jessica Jones, I really didn't sit through it enough. And again, Luke Cage was also good in that it didn't have that, and the same thing with where they didn't seem to beat you as relentlessly over the head with the darkness and the depression. I think this one, maybe Iron Fist was a little more depressing than this because they had that stupid he's institutionalized at the beginning and he's got to fight for his company and everything. Everybody knows that basically if you just cut off the first 4 episodes, in my opinion, Iron Fist was very good. Definitely maybe the first 4. In the case of Luke Cage, dark and relentless in the fact that, you know, Luke kept getting arrested, kept getting persecuted by the law, and I appreciated that. I mean, I didn't that seemed very much in line with, the story and the character. For some, especially in the last half where you had Luke running, he had, a Judas bullet like him for like about 3 freaking episodes. It was it just felt like it went on forever. And so, that stuff, you know, right, but it wasn't that great. Um and again, we had a lot of villains in this one. A lot of villains that we had because I didn't see the first 2 episodes and I can't find my notes. The guy that won the Academy Award. He was a very good villain in the beginning of the show. And of course, spoiler warning, he gets killed off midway through because Black Mariah, Alfre Woodard. And to be honest with you, I don't think that was a mistake. I don't think that was bad. I mean, I think Cottonmouth, that's his name, Cottonmouth. I don't think Cottonmouth a character by any means, but I don't think Oh, hey, wait a minute. I got someone in the chat room. Martin says he's subscribed and he wants me to subscribe back. I will subscribe back to you, Martin, when I am through with my live stream. Thank you very much for subscribing. Hey, and that's basically how I do it. If you're gonna subscribe to me, I'll return in kind. I always, unless of course your channel is or something, I might not subscribe back to you. But if you have a respectable channel, I will sub for sub, as they say. To and of course, I have to say that is my first comment ever on a live stream. Once again, for that. All right, back to what I was saying. Cage. All right, Luke Cage about Cottonmouth. Cottonmouth, I don't think it was a mistake that they killed him off. I think that's what I was saying. I don't think it was a mistake that they killed him off. I mean, there was it took a turn, villain with Copperhead. What his name was, Copperhead, I think. Because then it went into the supervillain mode, and I was excited that they actually put a supervillain costume, because that's one of the things I thought they weren't going to do. And now, of course, it was muted. It wasn't purple and with a snake head the way I think the costume looked in. But you got the feeling that this was a supervillain throwdown, a superhero throwdown. They were going to fight. He's in a super suit. Luke Cage has got the strength. So I was very pleased with that, and he, they were trying for this semi, like that. I typically hate when shows do this or stories do this or whatever, when you have the villain being the Bible spouting or villain and knows he's the villain, but he uses the Bible to justify what he's doing wrong. In this case, I kind of felt that it worked because it felt like it was one of those. I think frame it as Adam and Eve with Cain and Abel, but I was a little bit more taken to Ishmael and Isaac. You know, between Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar. Very interesting slant on it. Of course, it's a little different here because Luke's father was a sinner here in this case, and in the case of Abraham, there was no adultery going on. It was culturally a very different place. In this case, I thought it was very interesting the way they handled it, and I was with it. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was really good. Overall, pretty much, I just enjoyed it all. Luke ended up going into prison again. It was a very good performance by Mike Coulter. I've got to say, I really enjoyed his performance here. Looking forward to him on the Defenders and seeing his friendship emerge with. Got to make sure I mention Misty Knight. Misty Knight, again, just like Colleen Wing, pretty much steals the show here. I mean, the female lead, very strong in both shows. And Misty Knight, I would like to see her, back again, getting a lot of screen time, along with Colleen Wing, because in the comics, of course, they joined forces as well, the same way as Luke. Wanted to mention, yeah, the blaxploitation roots in the show. A lot of talking about Crispix addicts and stuff like that was interesting. Hearing a lot about the history and stuff like that. I thought that was all very interesting, and forefront that they put that in the forefront. Pops was a good character. He was. It was sad to see him go so early. Frank Wally. Always like seeing him show up in things. I've got to admit, when you're talking about like the 70s and the blaxploitation things, this reminded me a lot of the like 70s, like Sanford and Son and Good Times and stuff. like one white character in the show, and he's usually shady or not too bright. That's kind of like what they did here with this, where Frank Waldy's like the only white detective that's like, and then he's like, and the Latino characters or the Hispanic characters are a little more savvy than that. Like Shades was, you know, trying to get around Black Mariah. Seemed very much in line with the 70s coming from. All right, so that is my thought on Luke Cage. I am going to, let me see if I have to give it a ranking. Excuse me. To give this one, well, let's see. What did I give Iron Fist? I think I gave Iron Fist stars. I think, oh, I also have to mention Rosario Dawson. Of course, Rosario Dawson was very good as Claire Temple. I have to remember, like I said in Iron Fist, they convoluted the way they try to work her in all the time. But again, here, it felt like she was a natural part of it because there was kind of like a romance thing between her and Luke Cage. That he wind up with Misty Knight. Although, you see, in the comics, Danny Rand wound up with Misty Knight and Colleen Wing wind up with Luke Cage. No, like Jessica Jones is a comics, I think. Kudos to Rosario Dawson, of course, for a good performance here. And, you know, they had the subplot with her mother in the show. That was interesting to learn a little bit more about her personal life. Gonna say a ranking. This one below Iron Fist a little bit, but I'm gonna give it about the same rating. I gave Iron Fist a 3.5 stars out of 5, so I am going to give Luke Cage 3.5 stars out of 5. Okay, so before we now let us continue on, I want to take a look at I've been watching all along this season, but it has been completed for quite some time now, which is Macgyver. Now, fan of the original Richard Dean Anderson Macgyver. Had a chance to talk about this one lately because it's been on hiatus for quite a while here now. Enjoy Macgyver. It has been renewed for a second season, so it will be coming back. So, I believe I do have notes up for this one. Okay, let me take a look at my notes to make sure I... So, let's see here. I did a review of the pilot. That's gotten a lot of views. So, if you like that, you'll check that out. If you like Macgyver, you'll check that video out. It's become a very popular one. As a matter of fact, I've got more popular videos. They're getting much more views. The Wonder Woman review retrospective that I did, quite popular now. It's got the most likes I've ever gotten on a 7 likes. And 1943 review that I did for my classic horror reviews that I do in October, which I plan on doing in October again, is up to like 240 views now. So some of these videos are getting quite a lot of views. So I'm quite happy with that. Of course, Tom and Jerry Meets Sherlock Holmes. I don't think anything will ever surpass that. I've got 1,000 odd views on that now. So to see that, my efforts are not completely going to waste, because I'll get under 10 views on this video. I'll get under 10 views on most of my news roundups. I don't know why the views don't seem to come as plentiful. Without further ado, let us go back to Macgyver. Okay. Of course, the Mantle of Macgyver from Richard Dean Anderson. And of course, if you are watching live, feel free to drop me a comment. I'll try to read all comments and answer any and all questions. Lucas Till takes over as Angus MacGyver from Richard Dean Anderson. And one of the things in the season that they did pretty cleverly is they keep MacGyver's dad around in this continuity. The ghost of MacGyver's dad. See, in the original continuity, as a big MacGyver fan, I'm sure if you're a MacGyver fan, you know all this. Lost his parents at a young age. His grandfather as well, so it was pretty much just him and his grandfather. In this continuity, his alive and he's from him now. Either I'm forgetting or not into it, but he sends letters to him. His father doesn't write back. I would be worried if there's some kind of chicanery going on there, if there's any danger to him. But that MacGyver and his father are estranged. Now that's the interesting part because they're begging for Richard Dean Anderson to come back and to play senior. Not going to be playing. See, I was hoping that he was going to play MacGyver and that son of MacGyver. Unfortunately, since they're adding characters like Jack Dalton, like Murdoch, like Nicky Carpenter, which we'll get into in a moment, they're probably not going to go the route that MacGyver, the one we all know and love, before Lucas Till became MacGyver. So this is not going to be a mantle passing MacGyver. He probably will be acting completely different. Angus MacGyver. But I think it's very clear they're setting the groundwork there for comeback, reprise, in a sense, reprise the role of MacGyver, and probably go out in some big season finale. So, let's hope. I would like to see Richard Dean Anderson give his blessing to the show the same way as David Hasselhoff did with the Knight Rider reboot. Of course, that was a second generation thing because I still have the episodes of that show on tape somewhere. And it was interesting, yet still never quite hit the mark. I think halfway through they tried to retool it in a themed track. I'm willing to have, a second generation of these shows if they'll do it right. In this case, MacGyver, they're kind of doing it right. They feel like they are updates. In MacGyver's case, anyway, I'll speak to this one. Modern day updates. Now, for instance, on like the A-Team, when they tried to redo that with Liam Neeson, that felt more like they were trying too hard to reinvent the wheel. It didn't feel like had the same grasp on the characters that they do in MacGyver. MacGyver, it feels like out of all of them, between the Knight Rider remake and the MacGyver, it feels like they've got the character about as right as they can text. He's still doing the same things that the original MacGyver did. He's got the Swiss Army knife. He knows how to make, a helium balloon out of, a couple of rags and a postage stamp. But, they haven't really gotten too far away from that. Now, what they have done, of course, is they recreated his supporting cast, and that is where my problems kind of lie with the show. That is why I enjoy the show, because I enjoy Lucas Till's MacGyver, but the supporting characters, is not that I don't like them, but that's where on familiar aspects of MacGyver. Which is to say, we will start with Patricia Thornton. Not Peter Thornton, Patricia Thornton. So they gender changed the character, which I don't like gender changing things, and I keep saying I'm going to make a video about my hate and despising of racial and gender changes of characters, but I'm going to get into that one of these days. Peter Thornton to Patricia Thornton, they lost the entire of that friendship. It was a friendship. It was a bond. Took that away because that was the one constant in the show was Mac and Pete. the brotherly, big brother, little brother type, Peter Thornton. But there's still that, you know, family connection there between them two, you know, where Peter's own son, strange to him in the original show than Macgyver. I mean, he felt like Macgyver was almost his own son in comparison with his own son, who had various legal problems and everything. So, so they changed that entirely, which became quite a problem for me. To go even further than that, what happens is the spoilers, all spoilers, so right off the bat about this season, you better stop right now. But they turn Patricia Thornton into a villain. So here you have the between Macgyver and Peter. He's big brother, little brother, father and son esque, and then it turns into the boss, the kind of a bit over everyone. She's not even a contemporary the way that Pete was, and now and they tried to do something like this with Nikki Carpenter, and I was gonna try to I'm gonna try to segment these so that it doesn't bleed into one another too much, but everything you think you know is wrong, and Nikki was a villain. But the strange thing here is this was not a undercover mission. This was not deep cover. This was not. She's apparently the villain, and so they completely sullied the name of Thornton. I mean, it's one thing to maybe her father, Peter Thornton, that we all know and love. He'll come into the show at some point, have a fatherly relationship with Macgyver, a brotherly relationship with Macgyver, but they completely sullied the name of Thornton here. So I really don't know where they go with this unless they pull something out next season that tries to but bring her father into it maybe and try to redeem it by having in the show. I think you need a good Thornton in the show, and this show is completely stamped on the name of Thornton and just completely disrespected him. And that's one of the things that bothers me the most about this season. I'll get on to some of the other characters here first before we about the episodes, but also Jack Dalton. Now, I don't dislike what they did with Jack. The only thing is, though, is that is not Jack Dalton. Now, Jack Dalton was like con man. He was, he wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a, and they made him one in this show. Now, George, how to pronounce this? I'm not sure. George Eds. He's very good. I enjoy him every scene he's in. I enjoy him. So he's not the problem, but it's just difficult that they put him that something that's not in his character. I tend to kind of let that go because I like George's performance, and he's very good. He's sort of a, they're trying to give him the sort of the lighter, cocky, you know, type Han Solo role in this show. No, Dalton was a little bit like that, you know, of action that George is. So, I mean, would have been better if they didn't use the name Jack Dalton. It probably Jack Dalton is sort of an homage to the character, but it still misses the mark. I mean, I still miss a Jack Dalton in the show. There is not really a classical version of Jack Dalton in the show. The closest thing would be Bozer, which is the next character I'm going to go to now. Bozer plays Wilt Bozer as Mac's roommate. I really like this character. I think that this is sort of the Jack Dalton of the show. This is sort of the, millennial version of Jack Dalton. He's not a man, but he's a nerd, and that's kind of the role that they gave him. That he's like in. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't have any of the characteristics of a Jack Dalton either, but he's the comedy relief, so to speak, which is sort of what Jack Dalton was. That's why I kind of more to the Jack Dalton role, but he progressed during the season. He was not knowing anything about Mac's um, life and experience in the foundation. It's a good move that they brought him in and they caught him up to speed. Like I said, I think you needed him in the show as sort of the lighthearted. That's like an audience surrogate, sees the show through his eyes as not being someone that's a Marine or something like. And he was very good this season. I liked his being brought on board as guises and things. I think they gave him a pretty good role at that point. And of course, then we go to Tristan Mays, the lovely Tristan Mays as Riley Davis. You can't go wrong with an attractive lady on the show. Because I did say in my original review that do we really need another, hot chick that's got all the answers with the computer? She knows how to do the computer. It doesn't necessarily mean because she's a girl either. I'm just saying there's always a character that knows all the ins and outs of the business, and we've seen this about 1,000 times. These characters are a dime a dozen, but I liked her, and I think worked her into the show. I mean, they gave her the sort of shady background. The only thing I didn't like, mother being sort of romantically involved with Jack Dalton, and that kind of makes their relationship more of like a stepfather stepdaughter thing, and it's like, no, I really don't want that. I don't need that. I mean, not that I was expecting there to be anything romantic between Jack and Riley, but it just puts a different spin on those characters' relationships. It's a different dynamic now, and I was like really against them doing that. Of course, they didn't consult me, and they went ahead and did it anyway. But Riley's good. I'm glad that she became a full-time member. But see, that's part of the modernizing of MacGyver. You need to have a computer hacker. You need to have the hot chick with the kind of shady background. You need to have Dalton as a hands-on, rugged Marine, and then you need the kind of, like I said, nerdy comic relief. That's why a lot of people have shied away from the show, is because it's very much in the vein of the modern update. And in his Swiss Army knife and a couple of rolls of duct tape like the original show, which, I really can't hold that against them as long as they've got MacGyver right correctly here. All right, so let me run through the rest of these characters here before we finish up, because, okay, we've got Maddie as the new of the Phoenix Foundation. I did this at the beginning. I'm like, what is this gonna? What is Because they had this long, drawn out thing about, well, she has a past with Jack. What, romantic, or each other for some reason, or be the mildest of things, where she was his boss when he was in the CIA. I just didn't know where they were going at first. But if you're going to have someone replace Thornton, I think that she was, a good replacement. They haven't made anything of the fact that she's a little person, which is good. Not a subject of, that's one of the good things about it. It's nice to see that irrelevant to the character. The character is just the character, and nobody really, you know, anything about her appearance. So I thought that was refreshing. Now, and I like I said, if another Peter Thornton come in, as the director of Phoenix going forward, I don't mind that. I was just hoping that maybe we would get a legitimate Peter Thornton on the show, but eh, that's not going to be their demographic. That's not what they want, So I don't think we're going to get that anyway. Just briefly again, let's see, Nikki Carpenter. She was one of my favorites on uh played by Lisa Davos, if I remember correctly. Lovely girl. I really liked Guyver in the original show, but then as shows were wont to do in those days, they didn't want her to get too close to MacGyver, and reportedly didn't want a will they won't they, that it was starting to play out like Cheers and Moonlighting and the like. He moved to have her role cut out, and that's pretty much how she left the show. And in a way, with the A Team, they got rid of Amy because George Papard and the rest of the cast didn't really feel like she fit in. That was kind of like par for the course in that day. It was didn't have a ongoing relationship. Whoever else was involved, like in the case of the A Team, it was just the girl of the week. Nikki is portrayed more not as a you know she's portrayed as a double agent. Her and MacGyver obviously were close at some point. We see that in the very beginning. Uh, they think she's the villain. She's on the run. She comes back during the season, ends up out, goes back on the run, undercover, I guess. I'm not sure I remember. But so the way it turns out, they really, I'm glad they redeemed the character because I didn't really want her to be the villain. Because, like I said, I have that connection to Nikki that the original Nikki was always one of my favorites. So hopefully they'll do something constructive with her next season. They really didn't do much with her this season. They gave her like 2 episodes, maybe 3. I don't remember. Her character. Hopefully she comes back and they do something proactive with her. They did have a cameo of always played by Terry Hatcher, which Terry Hatcher, of course, just got through with Supergirl. Maybe she'll show up in the next season of MacGyver. End up just getting barely mentioned. I don't know if they have plans for her. I'd be interested. I liked Penny in the original series. I know because she was more hands-on, kind of could get things done. Penny was more the goofball type. But yeah, hopefully they use her too in the future. You ready? This is the big one now. Oh yes, Vidal Mastian. If I if I butchered his name, I'm sure if this was for a video or something, I'd be repeating his name about 30 times to try to get it right. But you know who I'm talking about. David Dalmastian. He was in Ant-Man. Great actor. Season, as a matter of fact. His performance. He's a great character actor. As MacGyver, I mean, as Murdoch, as MacGyver's nemesis. I mean, this is no small role. As MacGyver's nemesis, Murdoch. Murdoch is very important to the MacGyver legacy. You should check out any episodes. Those are almost without the best episodes. I think the last one they did with him wasn't so hot, if I remember correctly. Ironically, the last episode they did with in the original series, he didn't die. That is the other thing that I don't understand what they're doing with the character in this show, though. Murdoch had 1 episode, and then he goes to jail. Jail. Goes back to jail. I don't really know. At least that's what I remember. ever leaving and not getting back. He's back in jail. Now, the original conception of Murdoch was MacGyver can never catch him. He's too good. He's the Moriarty to Sherlock Holmes, and inventive for himself. So the problem being how to catch Murdoch. He always ends up getting killed. Apparently, he gets killed off by falling off a building or by drowning or by blowing up, and then come to find out he survived. And that is the gimmick with Murdoch, and they're not using it here. I don't know why. Putting him in jail, and they're using him as some kind of Joker, Hannibal Lecter, things from behind the cell door, and he kind of being the hero, but does he have his own agenda? That kind of thing. I don't really with Murdoch for too long, and they're doing it. They did it, I mean, for the whole season. So hopefully, they will get back to the original concept of Murdoch, which is he is the one that gets away. He is the one that catch. And so that there you have it from MacGyver this season. I enjoyed it. I think overall I enjoyed it. I hope that it gets better because, like I said, there's a lot of areas where I think they should have addressed to make it a bit more like the original. Let me just take a brief look at some of the episodes here to see if any of them stand out. Of course, there was the crossover with Hawaii Five-0. So we got the, and of course the whatever the other characters. See, I don't watch Hawaii Five-0. I don't know, but they weren't in it. And in the crossover episode, so I don't know. Crossover where maybe they'll meet them. Taking a look at some of the episodes, yeah, the one where they're stuck inside the embassy was the worst episode. Very boring, not much interesting stuff going on with MacGyver. Trying to think, I think the best episode, MacGyverish episode, was the one on the train. They were trying to protect a woman. It seemed very much in keeping with the original concept of MacGyver. I think Lee David Zlotoff, who created MacGyver, actually wrote one of these episodes. I can't remember which one. There was also a couple of great episodes that had to do with Murdoch. Pretty much all the episodes with Murdoch were good, but I'm going to say the best one was the one with Hands Out Murdoch. A couple of good episodes. Those are the good ones to check out. When Murdoch captures a Bozer, and when but I don't know what it's called, but you could probably find out from there. And also, they start that MacGyver theme song, and they bleed into some like generic action. It sounds like Human Target. By the way, excuse me. And I wish they would use the original MacGyver theme. They can update it, make it sound more modern or whatever. But I like the original theme, and they're not really using it. Not sure why. But yeah, that's about it. If I was to give it a ranking, a review number, let me see here for the season of MacGyver. I gave the pilot, I think, a 3.5. Also, they got going on with Riley and getting it together. Are they not? That's kind of interesting. Their take on the will they, won't they? I'm going to give MacGyver season 1 3.5 stars out of 5. So it's going to improve a little bit more. I think it's on the right track. I think it'll be fine if they keep it going in this direction. James Wan, who directed Aquaman now, is directing Aquaman now. has directed the a pilot, so he's a producer on this show. So I'd like to think it's in good hands going forward. So before we wrap up, we usually do look at the WWE. So I'll just briefly let's take a look at the WWE because power. I don't know if we can take too much longer here. 5 to 50 minutes because I only take so much. Maybe tops. Looking at the WWE, what went on this week? Obligatory picture of Bliss. You just want to see Alexa Bliss. That's all there is to it. You don't want to hear me talk. You just want to look at Alexa Bliss. Anyhow, so yeah, let's start with that. They did the thing with Bailey and Alexa Bliss was narrating it. She did a good job, but as most people said, this segment was just the pits, not that great. I think I think it was watchable because Alexa Bliss is so great on the mic, but yeah, it wasn't the finest moment. Just one more opportunity for her to whack a kendo stick. And, let's see. Of course, they're going to be meeting in. What else was going on here? Let's see. Was in Callisto? Yeah, that was that with what I really hate. Let me put it to you this way: what I really hate is they dropped the with his name Apollo Cruz, Apollo Creed. They dropped that feud with Enzo and Cass because they got this thing going on now with Enzo and Cass, and Enzo's been attacked, and it keeps happening, and nobody knows why. It builds up to something good. A lot of people are thinking, oh, it's going to build up to Cass turning on Enzo. I hope not, because these guys should have the belts before they break up. Now, if they break up eventually, we all know it's going to happen, and then something will. But belts on them first. Let's not have them odds with each other. So hopefully that'll get resolved pretty soon with something good. I don't know. The Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt, Samoa Joe triple match. That was probably the highlight of Raw. I thought that was the best. Samoa Joe takes advantage of Bray Wyatt's, attack on Finn match. Very good. Um, let's see. Showed up. That wasn't really that interesting. I don't know. Hardy Boys and Dean Ambrose got together. Yeah, that was interesting. That was interesting to say the least because Dean Ambrose seems like he belongs with those guys. um, then it was Roman Reigns takes on uh, Seth Rollins. I just didn't like it. And on over on the other side, we had on SmackDown we had AJ Styles, which was interesting. Not crazy about Ziggler. I was losing, but I like Ziggler, so if he had to lose to anybody, that's fine. Anyway, Okay, we are back live. I think we're back live. There is some technical difficulties here, but I think we'll be able to overcome them. All right, just wanted to finish up the show. Of course, I was saying the battery was going to be dying out, and it did. So if I am still coming through loud and clear, I will try to finish up the show where we left off. Just to finish talking about SmackDown, I'm a big fan of Dolph Ziggler. The only reason why he won against AJ Styles is because Styles was in his hometown. I wish they were giving Ziggler a push. I don't think they're ever going to. I don't know why they don't. He's a very talented guy, very talented wrestler. Just to briefly try to, run over some of the other things. The New Day is back. They made their triumphant return since Kofi Kingston broke his ankle, and since Xavier Woods' extracurricular activities. But the New Day is back, and I'm a big fan of the New Day, so they're going to be squaring off against the Usos, it looks like. Not the biggest fan of that idea. I wish they would give Breezango the push. Breezango did win, so that was good. They beat the Colons, or the Colons, or however they're pronouncing themselves now. So, more power to them. They're hilarious, of course. Tyler Breeze, and dressing up as a janitor. I mean, they're just, the guy deserves more credit than he's given, and he's, started out tenuously in the WWE with Summer Rae, and look where he is now. They're starting to do things with him, and I hope they continue. I hope they continue to do good things for Breezango, because they should be the SmackDown champs, tag team champs. I really hope they don't put it on the New Day, and I love the New Day, but they had the belts for the longest tag team champions. So I don't know. There you have it. Let's see how it shakes out from there. All right, so I think that about does it. I think I've yacked your ear off long enough, and I love doing these live streams with you. I love doing it, and hopefully we'll have another one going on at our same regular time next week on Saturday night. So, from all of us here at the Stately Torch Manor, I also want to mention I am going to be seeing Wonder Woman, like everyone else. I'll be seeing it Tuesday, so as I usually do on Tuesdays, I go see the movies. Not going to have a review until after that. I hope I can get, like I said, things sorted out with YouTube, the YouTube editor, because that's what I use. If not, I'm going to have to start from scratch using my Windows Movie Maker or something. It'll be a headache, but it'll get done. I want to do something big for the 50th, this June, it's June now, of course, is the 1-year anniversary of the Torch News Roundup. So I would like to do something big for this 50th one. Of course, 52 weeks. I've been doing it almost every week. Skip a week or two, and then maybe do 2 in 1 week. It all averages up. Yeah, hopefully it all works out that the YouTube editor, and I can get both these projects done this week. Looking forward to Wonder Woman, especially because it is quite a a lot riding on it, so to speak. With DCEU not really getting out of the gate the best they possibly could. Man of Steel is terrible in my opinion. Batman v Superman, not good. Suicide Squad, I'd say good. I know it's got its share of problems. It's a stretch, but at least it had watchable characters. It didn't look like a 2-hour-long tooth extraction. So that's my feelings on it. Like I said, love doing live broadcasts. So if nothing else, I'll try to get another live broadcast on if I can't get the YouTube editor working. Thank you for joining me once again. Live number 6. And until next we meet, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.